Hello and welcome back. Today, we're going to be going through all of the cards in the newest set for Pokemon TCG Pocket Spacetime Smackdown. There are going to be two different booster packs, one featuring Palkia and the other one featuring Dialga, and they are going to have, specific cards for each set. So I have it pulled up right now, and we're going to go through both packs and just see what kind of sauce we can come up with just looking at them. Of course, we're not playing with the cards, so everything that we're going to be talking about in this video is just all speculation and just, what we can glean from what we can see based off what the cards are doing. The meta is definitely going to change in the next couple of weeks. We're definitely going to, take a look at some cards and immediately think that they're going to be really good, and then maybe they turn out to be really bad. And then we might look at some cards and think they're really bad, but then they actually turn out to be really good. So let's just see what happens. Let's see what we get right. Let's see what we get wrong. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go through the Palkia pack first. And first off, I just got to say, a lot of these full arts look so freaking awesome. Cynthia is going to be one of my chase cards. This Cynthia looks so good. I really hope that I can pull this. So I'm probably going to pull on the Palkia pack like right off the rip. Mars is also stunningly awesome. Miss Magius looks so good, and also Cyrus is in this pack. So like low key, guys, I think Palkia is like the pack you want to rip open first if you are like a competitive player. And we'll talk about it because I've kind of gone through the cards already. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at the first card here. So Weavile EX is a stage 1 Pokemon with 1 retreat cost, so that's pretty good. 140 HP is pretty high as well, and only for 1 energy does 30 damage, scratching nails. And if your opponent's active Pokemon has any damage on it, then it does 40 more damage, so 70 damage maximum for 1 energy, I think it's pretty good, 1 energy, but the damage is a little bit low, so you're not like one-shotting Pokemon. And you might not even be two-shotting some EX Pokemon, but it seems like the point of this card is that you should be chipping away at your opponent's like bench as well. So maybe you can set up the math so that you can actually one-shot or two-shot any Pokemon that comes into the active spot. So Weavile does seem interesting. I don't know how good it's going to be. It doesn't seem that great to me right now, but maybe when we go through some more dark cards, maybe maybe we'll see some synergies and maybe it'll be a lot better. But like 1 energy to do damage is like super powerful and super fast, right? So you're gonna get off just like a bunch of really good early pressure, and especially going first, right? If you draw Sneasel and Weavile like on your turn 1, you get Weavile on your second turn going first, and you can start laying on 30 damage pretty easily, and you can also just retreat this back into the bench pretty easily because only 1 retreat cost. So pretty nice. Cynthia is the next card. During this turn, attacks used by your Garchomp or Togekiss do 50 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. That's crazy. Like Giovanni is 10 damage and this is 50 damage. So yeah, I mean, of course it's only specific to 2 types of Pokemon, but yeah, if we take a look at those Pokemon later and they're like really, really good, I can see this card, being very powerful in those types of decks. Obviously not a very splashable card, but for a specific Garchomp deck or a specific Togekiss deck, this is probably going to be like a staple card. Now, I forgot to go over the Palkia EX and Dialga EX. Palkia EX is 150 HP, basic, 1 water energy / 30 damage. Pretty good. And then for 4 energies, Dimensional Storm, discard all water energy attached to this Pokemon. This attack also does damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. It does 20 damage to your opponent's benched Pokemon. So to all of your opponent's bench Pokemon does 20 damage. So it's like Articuno. Articuno does 10, but this one does 20. But it is quite the energy cost. But, with Misty in the format, you might be able to get this on your turn too. Who knows, right? And then you just win the game. So like that's always a possibility with water type Pokemon. Nonetheless, it's only 2 retreat costs, so a leaf makes it free retreat. So not bad. And you can, charge this up if you want to in the back as well. But it can also work early on because slash 30 damage for 1 energy is a lot of pressure early on. 30 damage is pretty good, especially in the early game. So, right, you can lead with this and just start slashing them for 30 damage every turn until you get Dimensional Storm. And they need to be, they have to put on some kind of pressure onto your Palkia EX, or you're just going to start, running away with games. Dialga EX is the next one. The first attack is Metallic Turbo, and it's take 2 metal energy from your energy zone and attach it to one of your benched Pokemon. Does 30 damage as well. And then Heavy Impact for 4 energies does 100 damage for 4 energies. 2 colorless, 2 metal. Also 2 retreat costs. Now, the first attack is very interesting because it does not specify that you have to attach it to metal Pokemon only. So that means this can work on any Pokemon that, uses colorless energy in their attacks. So this card could become, splashable in multiple kinds of decks and not just into metal decks. So I think Dialga EX does have some potential. 2 energies, though, does mean, it requires 2 turns to set up. But that's not bad, and 30 damage for 2 energies is not amazing. But again, you're getting energy acceleration, and energy acceleration in the Pokemon TCG is usually pretty good. But it is in the form of an attack and not an ability, so it will remain to be seen whether or not this energy acceleration from Dialga EX is going to be good enough. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Mars. Mars is a supporter card, and your opponent shuffles their hand into their deck and draws a card for each of their remaining points needed. So this is crazy, right? This is a crazy amount of disruption for your opponent. In the end game. So, say your opponent needs only 1 point or even 2 points, then their hand size becomes 1 or 2. And that can be enough to stop a game plan, or, from them winning the game because they don't have the cards that they need in order to make the game winning play. This card is basically or very similar to Iono that is in the current TCG. And Iono is used in almost every deck. It's a very strong disruption card to kind of ruin your opponent's plan. So this card I think will be good. I think that the community is going to think that it's bad in the beginning because it's a supporter card that is very similar to Red Card, and in a 20 card deck format, disruption hasn't really proven to be amazing. Especially on ladder, but if you're in tournament and you can see deck list, Red Card is definitely a lot better. And so I think Mars is going to see a lot of play in tournament play where you can actually see deck lists and stuff. Yeah, I'm predicting that the community is going to think that this card is absolute trash, but I think this card is actually going to end up being pretty good. Next up is Infernape EX. It's a stage 2, which is unfortunate. It very luck based in getting all the pieces that you need, your basic and then your stage 1, but its attack is stupidly strong. 140 for 2 fire energies is stupid powerful. It's super easy to charge, and right, you can just charge up 1 Infernape in the back and have it ready to just knock out whatever you need to knock out. And this Pokemon has a free retreat with 170 HP. So even though you discard all of your fire energy from this Pokemon, you can just retreat it back into your bench, charge it back up, put something else that's 1 point that's pretty bulky back into the active so that you prevent your opponent from taking 2 points. And then you come back in and then smack them for 140 again to just win games. This card is crazy. And then combine this with a Giovanni, right? You hit that 150 benchmark for Mewtwo EX. I think that the only thing that it might struggle against is probably against those higher HP EX Pokemon. So other stage 2 decks, it might struggle against. So I think in order to solve that problem, you need to pair this up with something that can bench snipe or that can put on early pressure onto those higher stage Pokemon that have a lot of HP. So I think that's what you're going to have to do in order to make Infernape EX work. But this card does look pretty freaking insane because 2 energies for 140 is crazy. even though it's a stage 2. Okay, next up is Miss Magius EX, 140 HP, a stage 1. Magical Delusion does 70 HP for 2 psychic energy, but it does leave your opponent's active Pokemon confused. I do believe Confusion is a new status that is being introduced in the pocket. It was not in the first set. So this is the first Pokemon that will apply the Confusion status effect in Pokemon TCG Pocket. And Confusion, the way that it works is that whenever they attack, they have to flip a coin. And if they fail the coin flip, they take damage. Now, I believe in the actual TCG, you take, I want to say it's like 30 damage, but I think in Pocket it's a little bit less. I don't remember the exact number. It's either 10 or 20 damage. So still pretty decent, right? So you can do some chip damage, but again, because of the nature of coin flips, Confusion is not the most reliable thing, right? It's 50%, so mathematically it's inconsistent. But right, it could serve to be a decent form of disruption, preventing your opponent from attacking. Next up is Licky EX, 160 HP on this stage 1 Pokemon. That is a lot of HP, and it has Licking Fury attack. And this attack is flip a coin until you get tails, and this attack does 40 more damage for each heads. This is Misty. This is Misty. This is literally Misty. The good thing is that it does do 100 like on the base. And then it does 40 more damage for each head. So, at this point, I think hitting 2 heads is really all you need to like one-shot almost everything in the format. So, not terrible. You get guaranteed 100 damage, right? And then you have the potential to just like one-shot a lot of things in the format if you get lucky. So, I don't think it's going to be a consistent deck, but I think it's going to be a pretty fun deck, because I know Lickitung was pretty fun and pretty troll to use like on the ladder, because you could just flip a whole bunch of heads and just get maximum damage. So I can see Licky working on the ladder. Stage 1 is not bad. It has a fat retreat cost though, 4 retreat, so that thing is stuck in the active. That thing is not moving out of the active spot. Additionally, I think that the 4 energy requirement on this is pretty high, but it can technically synergize with Dialga EX because it is a colorless Pokemon, so you can just accelerate metal energy onto this, and then kind of get it up and running, decently fast. With that said, Dialga does require 2 energies to charge up, so that means that's by your turn 2. So Licky gets charged up at the earliest by turn 4. So whether or not you use Dialga EX, it doesn't really matter. You're charged up by your turn 4 regardless, if that makes sense. It's just a way to charge it up while also having like a really big bulky Pokemon in your active spot as well. Next up is Cyrus, and I gotta tell you guys, the Pokemon TCG Pocket is getting closer and closer to the TCG, but it seems like they're avoiding everything they can do to avoid printing boss's orders. But Cyrus is a version of Sabrina, but it's a little bit different. So switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon that has damage on it into the active spot. So the good thing about Cyrus is that you can select which Pokemon you will gust up into the active spot. So, cards that switch Pokemon into the bench spot or the active spot, the term used for that is gusting. So this card is a gusting effect, and it's a gusting effect where you can actually select the Pokemon. Whereas with Sabrina, you could not select them, and so your opponent selected. So not having that choice with Sabrina was kind of its weakness, but now that you have a choice with Cyrus, it's a lot better. Like, you just have more control over what Pokemon you want to knock out. The only requirement is that you need to have damage on it, so this means that you need to either damage it early on in the game, or you need to use a bench sniper in order to utilize a Cyrus well. And so I really do think Cyrus is going to be an insane card. I think it's going to start to be a staple in a lot of cards, a lot of decks. And bench sniping meta is definitely going to become more popular, for sure. Next up, I already talked about Infernape, but this alt art is freaking amazing. Like, the Sun Wukong reference here is so cool. Miss Magius alt art looks awesome. Weavile alt art looks pretty cool. And the Licky is just eating berries out of that truck. That's pretty cool too. A lot of these alt arts are just really cool. I love them so much. All right, let's go ahead and move on. These are all our alt art cards as well. So first one is Rotom, 1 energy, colorless. So that's pretty nice. That means it's splashable into any deck. 70 HP is okay. And Assault Laser does 20 damage base and an extra 30 damage if the Pokemon has a Pokemon tool attached to them. So 50 damage if they have a tool. And Pokemon tools are a new mechanic added to the Pokemon TCG Pocket card game. And the way it works is that it's basically like an equip card. So you attach it kind of like an energy. Each Pokemon can only have one Pokemon tool card attached to it at any time. And you can't like, for example, you can't like attach a tool and then attach another tool to replace it, right? Once you attach a tool to it, that tool is stuck to that Pokemon. You can't change it out. And they're item cards, so that's how it works. And there's 2 Pokemon tools I think that are being introduced into the format: Rocky Helmet and Hero's Cape, or some kind of cape. One does 20 damage whenever you attack them, and then the other one gives your Pokemon a maximum of an extra 20 HP. So I think they're both going to be very good Pokemon tool cards. Moving on, we got Staraptor, 3 energies, 1 cost, retreat. During your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon cannot retreat, 80 damage, 3 energies. Not bad, not good either. 3 energies I think is kind of like the point where cards kind of become harder to use, because 3 energies is just, it's a lot of turns. You have to commit in order for them to attack. So I'm really not a fan of cards that have 3 energies. It's when they have 2 energy attacks is when I feel like they're a lot more viable to use competitively in decks. So Carnivine is a grass type Pokemon, 90 HP, 1 retreat cost, and its attack is Flog, 40 damage. Flip a coin if its attack does 60 more damage. So potentially this card can do, 50 more damage. So potentially this card can do 90 damage for 3 energies. Again, I think that's a little bit too expensive, and if you miss your coin flip, you're only hitting for 40. So 40 for 3 energies is not amazing, in my opinion. Beautiful card, though. Next up is Gastrodon, 3 energies, 1 water, 2 colorless. It is a stage 1, has a high retreat cost, which kind of sucks, but it does 60 damage, and then this attack does 20 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So this has a sniping effect, which means that, you know, it's going to work really well with Cyrus. It allows you to gust up a Pokemon that's damaged, and then you can take the knockout on them. So even though this one is 3 energy, it provides a pretty good utility in it. So I think that this card is not terrible. It is a stage 1 though, so that might hinder its potential. But the fact that it's only it's only 1 water energy and 2 colorless means that you might be able to, like, you know, play this in a dual type deck potentially, or maybe even, you know, pair it with Dialga EX or something like that, or any kind of energy accelerating Pokemon. Next up, we have Manaphy. Choose 2 of your bench Pokemon. For each of those Pokemon, take a water energy from your energy zone and attach it to those Pokemon. So this is energy acceleration. Pretty nice. It seems like water gets so much energy acceleration in the form of Misty, and now in the form of Manaphy. Manaphy is pretty weak though, 50 HP, 1 retreat cost. It could be a liability. It could die on turn 1. This is maybe like a good going second card. So, you know, you attack on your first turn if you're going second, and then you gotta like get it out of there. Otherwise, it might die too quickly. But right, it kind of puts you ahead on that energy. If you're able to bench 2 water Pokemon, you can charge up 2 water energies like right away onto those bench Pokemon. So I can see some potential for Manaphy in water type decks. And the thing is, this is also not exclusive to water Pokemon. You can attach it to any of your bench Pokemon. So any Pokemon that uses colorless energy can benefit from Manaphy as well. So who knows? Maybe this card actually is going to be pretty good for energy acceleration. Next up, we have Giratina. Levitate. If this Pokemon has any energy attached, it has no retreat cost, and then Spooky Shot, 3 energies, 70 damage. I don't think that that's amazing. 70 damage for 3 energies is not particularly strong, but it is free retreat if it has energy attached to it, which, free retreat is pretty powerful, and it's pretty bulky as well. So it could see some play just because of that fact. Also, this freaking alt art is amazing, but I'm not really seeing anything too crazy out of Giratina. Next up is Cresselia. 2 energies, heal 20 damage from this Pokemon, does 50 damage. Again, not super amazing. 110 is decently bulky, though. 110 is a good HP benchmark. Healing 20 damage, but 2 energies is a lot for kind of low damage. So I'm not really seeing too much use out of this. Like, I wouldn't really think you would want to replace anything in a Mewtwo deck for Cresselia, and I'm not really seeing any other Psychic decks that might want to use this. Maybe in Mismagius EX, but I don't know. Not really seeing too much there. Next up is Rhyperior Mountain Swing, 150 damage, 4 retreat cost, which is fat. Oh my god. Discard the top 3 cards of your deck is crazy. I don't know if I like this card. I really don't, because in a format with only 20 cards, I feel like every card is very important, and discarding 3 cards is... I don't like it. I don't think this card is going to be very good. And then, 150 is a lot of damage, but 4 energies is also way too many energies. So I don't think this card is viable, unfortunately. Next up, Hippopotas. There's got to be a Hippowdon. I don't think there's much to talk here. It's 3 energies, 60 damage. Moving on to Spiritomb. Swirling Disaster, colorless. This attack does 10 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. So this includes benched Pokemon, I'm pretty sure. 80 HP, I think this is going to become a staple card, especially with Cyrus. Oh my god, you spread 10 damage to them, and it either forces a potion onto all of them so they can't get Cyrused, or they just become free fodder for Cyrus for you to knock out. I think this card is going to be amazing, and it doesn't even require dark energy, it requires colorless energy. 1 retreat as well, it's pretty good. So, yeah, this card, I think it's going to be good. Next up, we have Garchomp. I looked at this card, and yeah, Garchomp, I think, is pretty powerful. 2 energies, water and fighting for Dragonclaw 100 with Cynthia does 150. Oh, that's a lot of benchmarks you're hitting. So, Mewtwo dies. A lot of other cards just die outright. Yeah, I think this card is going to be... I think it's going to be usable. Even though it's a stage 2, it's only 2 energies, okay? And its ability is you must discard a card from your hand in order to use the ability. Once during your turn, you may draw a card. Now, this ability is stackable, so if you happen to have 2 Garchomps on the field, it's basically Professor's Research, right? Discard a card that you don't need, like, in the moment, and then draw a card to find the card that you actually need. Like, maybe you are looking for a Cyrus so that you can get the KO, but you have some useless cards in your hand that you don't really need at the moment. But like, if you can get the Cyrus and just win the game, it's worth it to discard those cards in order to find the Cyrus to take the game. So yeah, I think this card is going to be usable, and it's a draw engine card. The only problem is that it is stage 2, but I think it's still going to be pretty good. Glameow, that's a nice card. Nothing to talk here. Pose, 40 damage. Flip a coin if tails. This attack does nothing. All right, let's go ahead and move on to more of these cards. So these are just the regular art versions. We did not talk about Togekiss. So this is the other Pokemon that gets 50 damage extra from Cynthia. So first, its attack is 2 Psychic. That's really good. 2 Psychic, 2 energies is very usable. So Overdrive Smash, even as a stage 2. So Overdrive Smash does 60 damage base. During your next turn, this Pokemon's Overdrive Smash does an extra 60 damage. So 120 plus 50 is 170 damage. Or it can do 110 damage just with the regular Cynthia. I think that's pretty good. 110 is a little bit unfortunate, though, because a lot of benchmarks is 120 for EX Pokemon. So it's just shy of being able to knock out, like, Pikachu EX. But, I still think it's pretty good. And, if you're able to get an attack off, then it puts a lot of pressure onto your opponent because it hits for 120 next turn. And so I think that is enough to, two-shot a lot of Pokemon, and you having 140 HP is a lot of HP, so it does tank, a good amount of attacks. It obviously is not going to tank like a Psy-Drive from Mewtwo or a Crimson Storm from Charizard, but I still think that this card is still pretty good. Now, think about it though. 140 HP, you pair this with the new tool card that gives you an extra 20 HP, the Cape, and then you're starting to survive some attacks from Mewtwo if they don't have the Giovanni in hand. So I see potential. I see potential in both of Cynthia's cards. I really do. All right, let's talk about Torterra, Frenzy Plant. During your next turn, this Pokemon can't use a Frenzy Plant. 4 energies. Stage 2. Now, with Superior in the format, it only requires 2 energies for 150 damage. That is crazy, crazy strong. The only problem is having 2 Stage 2 Pokemon in your deck, so that might not be super consistent. This can be kind of like mitigated, the fact that you can't use Frenzy Plant during your next turn by just having another Torterra on the bench and just like swapping between them. So I don't see a huge problem with this downside of this attack. You can just you just swap out. So pretty strong if you pair it with Superior especially. But again, like the only problem is 2 Stage 2 Pokemon, so finding all the pieces might be a little hard. Next up is Empoleon. Aqua Jet. This attack also does 30 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. So we got another snipe Pokemon. 3 energies. 80 damage is pretty good. And it comes along with like a sniping effect. So I think Empoleon's going to see some play. I really do think it's going to be a pretty decent Pokemon. 150 HP is also pretty freaking bulky. Stage 2, again, that's its biggest downside. 2 retreat costs, so a leaf kind of allows it to switch out of the active pretty easily. But other than that, I don't think that I have anything else to say about this. The sniping works really well with Cyrus, and I really do think sniping is going to become a bigger part of the meta. Next up is Magmortar. 4 energies for Bursting Inferno. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now burned. Now, burn, I believe in this game, is 20 damage instead of poison's 10 damage. I could be wrong on that. Someone please correct me. But I know in the original TCG, it is 20 damage per turn. 4 energies is very expensive, though. But, with Moltres in the format, that might not be a huge problem. And Magmortar also doesn't have to discard all of its energy to attack, unlike a lot of other fire-type Pokemon. So this one's interesting. I think this can be playable, but 100 damage is just a little bit too weak. Like you're not really one-shotting any EX Pokemon. But with the burn though, I think you are one-shotting Pikachu because it does 120 by the end of the turn. But other than that, I think that Magmortar can. I think we can make a deck around Magmortar. I do think so. Next up is Glaceon, Ice Beam. Flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. This is kind of nice. This is a Articuno. It's like a weaker version of Articuno, but this one time it only requires 2 energies, and paralysis can be very annoying, right? It can win you games just straight up because you get lucky on your coin flips and your opponent just can't do anything with their active Pokemon. So interesting. 60 damage is not bad as well, especially if you do hit those paralysis flips. So this card can be pretty annoying. I do think people will play this, but whether or not it'll be like really, really good, we'll have to wait and see. Magnezone, Thunder Blast, 2 colorless and 1 lightning. That's very cool. Discard a lightning energy from this Pokemon for 110 damage. Now, there are other cards there are new lightning cards in this deck that kind of synergize with having lightning energy in your discard pile. So maybe this can fuel that. The only problem, again, is that it's a stage 2. So that might be its biggest downside. But, Magneton from the first set has an ability to accelerate lightning energy onto it. So that's pretty good. So I think that it is, this Pokemon is totally viable. And I think that the Volkner deck is going to be viable. I think it can be played, but whether or not it's good or not, again, we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, Thunder Blast, 140 HP, 2 retreat cost. Okay, now there is the Mesprit, the Azelf, and the Uxie, and they're all supposed to synergize together. I think they're trying to push us to like make a Lake Trio deck. And so Mesprit is 70 HP, basic Pokemon. You can use attack only if you have Uxie and Azelf on your bench. Discard all energy from this Pokemon. Supreme Blast, 160 damage is crazy. That is stupidly strong. 3 energies is a lot, but like 160 for 3 energies is pretty good. Like definitely the strongest like 3 energy attack in the game, but it does have requirements. But in my opinion, I don't think those requirements are that hard at all. So I do think that we can make a Lake Trio deck. I think maybe the only problem might be like energy acceleration. We might be able to solve the problem with the Gardevoir, but then that takes up a spot on your bench. I don't know if it's a downside, but like that's the only thing you kind of have to think about, right? But 160 is going to be hitting a lot of Pokemon for some good damage. And 170 is also a benchmark for a decent amount of Pokemon as well. So with paired with a Giovanni, you're one-shotting a lot of things. And then we'll go over Azelf and Uxie as well, but they have like spread damage and bench sniping capabilities. So you can set up the math where you can one-shot Pokemon with Mesprit. We talked about Giratina already. These arts are like super cool. Talked about Rhyperior. Next up is Bastiodon, Guarded Grill. If any damage is done to this Pokemon by attacks, flip a coin. If heads, this Pokemon takes minus 100 damage from that attack. And then Headbang for 80 damage. Now, Guarded Grill seems really freaking broken because it's minus 100. So, right, you have to do more than 100 to even deal any kind of damage to this Pokemon. But it's, it's conditioned by a coin flip, so it's only 50% of the time. I can see this card being very annoying to play against, like if they win their flips. But in the name of consistency, it's just not consistent enough. Also, it's a stage 2, so it's hard to find all of the pieces. Also, as a fossil, you will not be guaranteed it, in your opening hand. So that might also be a problem. But this card, I think, you'll probably see this on ladder, and it's going to be very annoying to deal with. Very annoying to deal with, for sure. Next up is Porygon Z Stage 2 Buggy Beam. 3 energies. Change the type of the next energy that will be generated for your opponent to one of the following at random. This one's going to be like another like annoying disruption deck because like your opponent just gets an energy that they can't work with. And then it just buys you a turn. 80 damage is not super strong. 3 energies, again, is a lot of commitment to commit to a Pokemon. It's gonna have to like be your main attacker, I think, if you want to go like the 3 energy route. So although it's gonna be annoying, I don't think it's gonna be that great, but you probably will see it on ladder because people just want to troll you and make you frustrated. Next up is Regigigas, 140 HP basic, Raging Hammer, 4 energies. Sorry, I forgot to mention it's 3 energies, but it is colorless. So again, like it can synergize with Dialga and any other kind of like energy acceleration to colorless Pokemon. So like Manaphy as well to get that 1 extra energy. So who knows? Maybe there are some synergies that I'm not seeing that might even work even better. Anyway, let's go back to Regigigas. Raging Hammer, 50 damage base. This attack does more damage equal to the damage this Pokemon has on it. And so here's the thing. With spread and bench sniping becoming more popular, I think Regigigas is just going to get better. Especially if it's like a spread attack that does it to your entire bench. Then Regigigas just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And also, if your opponent cannot one-shot Regigigas, then Regigigas is it's hitting for a lot. It is really hitting for a lot. Now, if there was a way to control damage onto Regigigas, I think it would be even better. But as it stands right now, there isn't a way to control damage onto Regigigas. In the current format, there's a way to like move damage counters around between your own Pokemon and like also just like deal damage to your own Pokemon. But in the Pokemon TCG Pocket, there's no way to do that right now. So as it stands, I don't think Regigigas is going to be super amazing, but I think it might find its place if the meta kind of goes towards that bench sniping meta. So, but of course, they can always just avoid it, but they do have to end up one-shotting it in the end if they don't want to take any extra damage. So, for example, if it has like 13 damage counter on it, or if it has taken 130 damage, this thing hits for 180. So right, if they don't hit for 140, they're taking a lot of damage next turn. Let's take a look at some more cards here. So item card, there's a Lumberry. At the end of each turn, if this Pokemon this card is attached to is affected by any special conditions, it recovers from all of them and discard this card. Is this a tool card? It is a tool card. Okay. Yep, so this is like a tool card. It's like full heal, but in the form of a tool card. I wonder how great it's actually going to be. If paralysis, and confusion and burn and poison become like super, super, super popular, then I think Lumberry will be good. But like this is a card where it really just depends heavily on where the meta is heading, right? Because if not a lot of people are using status conditions, then this card is just useless. And then here's the Rocky Helmet card. If the Pokemon this card is attached to in the active spot is damaged by attack by your opponent's active Pokemon, do 20 damage to the attacking Pokemon. So it's Druddigon's Rough Skin ability in the form of a tool card. So that means like any Pokemon now has Rough Skin ability. So this item is best used on a really bulky, basic Pokemon that you just put in the active that, the opponent literally just doesn't want to touch. We talked about Cyrus and how amazing it is. And then the rest of these cards are just all the stage 2s and stage 1s, so I don't think we really need to talk about it. It's really cool that Gabite has the same energy requirements as Garchomp, just does less damage, so that's pretty cool. And then, let's see, we got Blossom, that's a new card. It's a stage 2, 2 energies for 80 damage. 2 energies, again, I think is very powerful, so this could be a decent attacker. 130 is also pretty bulky, so not a terrible grass-type Pokemon. Roserade, that's new. 100 HP, stage 1 Pokemon, Poisonous Whip. So this is like Tentacruel, pretty much. This is exactly like Tentacruel, but just in grass form. So not much else to say there. Regice. Prevent all effects of attacks used by your opponent's Pokemon done to this Pokemon. Okay, so that means this Pokemon is basically just like immune to like paralysis and anything like that, like any extra effects that they do. This doesn't mean that it's immune to damage, okay? Damage is not an effect. So 2 energies for 50 is not terrible either. So yeah, I don't know if this will see play. It is a decent like bulky Pokemon though, so who knows? Maybe it'll see some play as like a stall type Pokemon in like water decks. And Prinplup, Carnivine, the non-art Gastrodon, Macargo. Okay, this one's new. Searing Flame, 30 damage, 2 energies. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now burned. So if I'm right and that burn does 20 damage per turn, then this is a 50 damage attack by the end of your turn. 120 HP is decent. 2 energies is really good. So this can put some pretty good pressure onto your opponent. It reminds me very similarly to what's it called, Wheezing, except this is 2 energies instead of 1. Really high retreat cost, but yeah, I get like very similar vibes to Wheezing with Macargo, but 2 energies does make a huge difference versus the 1 from Wheezing. So we'll see if this is ends up being used, but it's an interesting way to spread burn if you want to go for like a burn type deck. Next up is a new Lumineon, 1 energy, 50 damage. Right, you can already see like Lumineon is less HP, but like 1 energy less for the same damage is pretty nice. Like not bad at all, but pretty weak though, so I don't really think we'll see much play out of this card. Abomasnow is 4 energies, Frost Breath, 120 damage. It's a stage 1, 140 HP. Maybe with Misty, you could see some Abomasnow smacking people for 120, but besides that, I don't know how good it's going to be. Next up, we have a Magneton, Lightning Ball, 50 damage, 2 lightning energies. I do think that the other Magneton is better just because it can accelerate lightning energy, so I would honestly rather have that than this. So if you are going to end up using Magnezone, I would use the other Magneton. There's a new Electrode in the format. This time it's only 1 energy for rolling attack to do 50 instead of 70 for 2 energies. So maybe this is some like really good early damage if you go first, right? You start not Electrode. You start Voltorb going first. And then on your turn 2, you can evolve and hit for 50 on your second turn if you go first. So I can see this card being used in electric type decks because it's a good going first card. So yeah, not bad. Mightyena is new. Darkness Fang, 1 dark, 1 colorless, 60 damage. That's all it does. Not really much to talk about. Solid damage though for like a dark type Pokemon, but I don't think it'll be used. Here is Uxie and Azelf. So Mind Boost. Take a psychic energy from your energy zone and attach it to Mesprit or Azelf. So this kind of also works as energy acceleration, but it is in the form of an attack instead of an ability like Gardevoir. So it's kind of scary that Uxie can just get knocked out the next turn. So that's really its only problem because it is pretty low HP. So you have to have another one in hand if you want to be able to use Mesprit's attack. And then Azelf is a bench sniper. This attack does 20 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Again, like I was telling you that maybe you could set up the math with Azelf so that you could get the one-shots with Mesprit. But again, the same problem with Uxie, right? You can get one shot after you attack. Because it's pretty low HP. Drapion. Now, Drapion is one of my favorite Pokemon, but unfortunately, I think that the energy requirement of this is too much. Cross Poison, 3 Darkness Energies. Flip 4 coins. This attack does 40 damage for each heads. If at least 2 of them are heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned. So this has a potential of dealing 160 damage or 0 damage. With poison, so maybe actually 170 damage. So yeah, unfortunately, it's a cool card, but the energy requirements is too high, in my opinion. So I don't think it's going to be used. Skarmory, Metal Arms, 20 damage. If this Pokemon has a Pokemon tool, this attack does 30 more damage. So this is a Pokemon that can do 50 damage on your turn 1 if you go second, and then a Pokemon tool. So you could give it a Rocky Helmet, and this can work as like a pretty decent like stall card in your active spot, right? Setting down more math and putting on a bunch of early pressure. It's also only 1 retreat cost. It's 80 HP is kind of low though, so that's kind of scary, but I do think that you might see Skarmory and Rocky Helmet being played in metal decks as kind of like a starting Pokemon in the early game. So I think Skarmory is going to be pretty good. I think it's going to be used. There's a new Rhydon, not much to talk about. Shieldon, not much to talk about. Regirock, this Pokemon takes minus 20 damage from attacks and then a 4 energy Boulder Crush. Minus 20 is not bad. It's very similar to Melmetal, but unfortunately 4 energy is just too much. I don't think this is going to see any play. Next up is Probopass. Steel type, way too high of a retreat cost. 130 HP, triple nose, 30 damage plus. Flip 3 coins. This attack does 50 more damage for each heads. Oh, wow. So it is 30 on the base, so you do get some damage, but 4 energies is so much. But it does have the potential to deal 180 damage, which is a whole lot of damage. Maybe pair it up with a Dialga, who knows, and try to get lucky on those triple nose attacks. But again, because it's a coin flip Pokemon, the inconsistency is not great. Let's see, we got Hippowdon, Earthen Press for 4 energies, 120, 140 HP, very high retreat cost. 120 is a much better number than, say, the 100 from Regirock, but I still don't think this is going to see any play. 4 energy is just too much commitment, so don't think we're going to see this being used, unfortunately. Per Ugly, Interrupt. Your opponent reveals their hand. Choose a card you find there and shuffle it into your opponent's deck. That is an interesting form of disruption. 3 energies, though, is a lot to commit, but again, you can utilize this with energy acceleration Pokemon like Manaphy or Dialga, and maybe you can see some play. But yeah, this form of disruption can be very annoying. Like, right, you just put in a Pokemon that they want to evolve, like next turn, back into their hand, and they just can't do it, right? So, yeah, this card can be pretty annoying. I think there could be some decks that come out of this. It's like some kind of control deck. But whether or not it's good is really going to depend on if we can, reliably get 3 energies onto per ugly. And then the rest here I think are just some stage 1s. Let's just take a look at it. Okay, there's a Cricketune. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused for 50 damage. 2 energies. That's actually not terrible. 2 energies, again, like, is very usable. So, and confusion. This one, I think, can see some play. I think this one can see some play. Wormadam. Flip a coin. If has, it does 30 more damage, so 90 damage for 3 energies. Otherwise, 60 base. 3 energies is too much. I don't think it's going to see much play. Rotom. Energy cutoff. Flip a coin. If has, discard a random energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. 2 energies for 30 damage is kind of low, and I think that the disruption, because it's behind a coin flip, I don't think it's going to be very reliable, unfortunately. So Rotom probably won't see any play. Magmar Stoke. Take a fire energy from your energy zone and attach it to this Pokemon. So going second, decent card. Sets you up for the Magmortar. So, you know, if you are going to play Magmortar, I would probably use this Magmar over the other Magmar for sure. Let's see here. Okay, we got Heat Rotom, Heat Breath. Flip a coin. This, if has, this stack does 30 more damage, so 60. So 60 damage for 2 energies. Don't think it's going to be that great. 2 energies for only 60 damage is kind of just like meh. And it's behind a coin flip, so not too great. Snover has an ability, though. If your opponent's active Pokemon is a fighting type Pokemon, it does 30 more damage, so 40 damage to fighting type decks. So that's interesting. So this just like hard counters the early game against fighting type decks. Next up is Wash Rotom, 1 energy for 30 damage. That's all it does. It is a basic 80 HP. I don't know. We'll see. Early pressure type Pokemon, you know. Frost Rotom, 2 energies. This attack does 10 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So this is another bench sniper type Pokemon. 2 energies, 30. So this is actually not bad. Only 2 energies to start putting damage counters onto your Pokemon to set them up for Cyrus plays and, you know, other types of plays. I think this Pokemon might be good. I think this one's going to be used in some decks. Let's see what else is new in here. I don't think that there is anything else to talk about. Oh, there's a new Lickitung, Tongue Slap, 50 damage. The Sneasel, 1 darkness energy, flip 2 coins for 40 damage potentially, or 0. Let's see here. Oh, there's a metal Wormadam. Okay, flip a coin until you get tails. This attack does 30 more damage for each heads. Okay, this is only 2 energies, and it does 50 base. This one is not bad. This one's actually very usable. 2 energies for 50 damage for a potential to do more damage is great, even though it's behind a coin flip. But the fact that it's 2 energies, so they can start attacking and laying down damage, means it's 1 turn earlier. So that's really, really good. So I do think that this trash Wormadam will see some play. Not bad. Not bad at all. Let's see here. We have an Ambipom double hit. Flip 2 coins to attack does 40 damage for each heads. Stage 1, only 1 energy is not bad. This is kind of like Kangaskhan, but Kangaskhan was a basic. This is a stage 1. Because of that fact, it's a little bit worse. But 1 energy for a potential of 80 damage. Not bad. Not bad at all. Honestly, not bad. Pluck. Before doing damage, discard all Pokemon tools from your opponent's active Pokemon. Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If Pokemon tools become like super like problematic, maybe people will just start teching in Starlies into their decks just to remove, just as a form of Pokemon tool removal. I don't know. Maybe we'll see it. I don't know. And then we have the 2 fossils. Glameow. Does it have any effect? Flip a coin. Nope. Fury attack. Flip a coin. Fan Rotom. Flip a coin. If heads, put your opponent's active Pokemon into the hand. Oh no, this is Aerodactyl, but in the form of a basic Pokemon. Oh, this is crazy. Wait, only 2 energies as well. This card I think is gonna be used. This card very splashable as well, being colorless. Oh, this is going to be super annoying for stage 2 decks. Oh man. Okay. Yeah, this card's going to be interesting. All right. Well, this video has already gone on long enough. I went just through the Palkia, so I think I will do another video and we'll go over the Dialga set next. So stick around and take a look at that video. Until next time, I'll see you guys next time.